Got my last paycheck, I'm gonna leave this town. When the morning gets here, I'm gonna be southbound. Cause I can't stand your way of living, no, your apartment's way too small. I can't stand your way of living, no, yeah, honey, that ain't all I'm going with me southbound. Oh, southbound.
And we're here live with the Skinny live on Spreaker Radio. You were just listening to our guest today, a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful singer-songwriter, very talented individual. We're going to have her on with us via the telephone. I want to go ahead real quick and mention the sponsorship, if I can talk today. End Zone Pizza and Pub in Burnside, Kentucky. Go down and check them out, folks. Great food, great friends. Family-friendly environment. You can take your kids, you can take your grandkids. Go down there and check them out. Like I said, a lot of great food, a lot of great entertainment, live entertainment. They've got everything from karaoke to the best in local entertainment. Now, want to get right into this here in just about 9 seconds, so hang with us, folks. You're really going to enjoy this guest today. We'll be right back. And we're back. And our guest today in the studio is Shirley White. And if you were listening earlier, right before I came in on the introduction, I played just a little bit of one of her songs. Folks, an amazing artist. Shirley, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How's yourself?
I'm here. That's about all I can say today. We played a show yesterday out in the sun all day. It was brutally hot, and we were under a huge tent, which made it seem even hotter for whatever reason. I figured blocking the sun would have helped, but it didn't. But let's get to you. I was playing your song earlier, Southbound.
Yep. It's actually not... I didn't write that one. I co-wrote it with a lady from Alabama.
Mm-hmm. But it's still
we actually met on Facebook.
Right.
And what happened was she'd heard one of my songs on Facebook coming home, and she asked me if I would kindly, try and do a version of hers, which was totally different. So she'd let me see the lyrics, she'd let me hear the original song that she'd actually gotten another lady to do way back in the 80s, which was a lot slower. It was more like just piano. Mm-hmm. So I thought, right, we really have to, do her the honour of giving it quite a southern feel. So that's how that came about. So Southbound wasn't written by me, but I've kind of composed that kind of style of music for it and sung it for her. So it's going on the album. We've decided it's going on the album as well.
Well, it's an amazing song. I was sitting there listening to it, and I'm sitting here now listening to your accent, and I'm just listening to you talk and then listening to you sing, and of course we've talked before.
Yeah.
I'm blown away because you have such a different sound with your voice and such a different style. Like you said, you composed the music for this particular song, and it's got a southern feel to it, but it's still so different. It's just, it's like it would be like an alternative country or something. It's just, it's a really, really cool song. I could actually hear it out on the rock radio as well.
Yeah, it's got quite. It'll be totally different when it goes to studio. Although we'll try and keep the banjo in it. I'll do the banjo, and I've got to keep the jaw harp in as well. But my son will do a bit of slide, maybe a bit of harmonica as well in it, just to give it a different sound.
Well, now, just so our listeners know, how many instruments do you play?
I play the guitar. I play the banjo. I can dabble in keys a wee bit. Obviously, jaw harp, which I haven't played for years actually. So I decided, well, I'll add that into Southbound just to give it a different kind of twist. But yeah, I play a few things, and I can pick up an instrument, and I can always get a tune out of it. I don't read music. It's all with feeling, to be quite honest.
And that's amazing in itself. Now, you're a singer-songwriter, so tell us, where does your inspiration draw from, and how did you get started writing and so forth?
Well, I've actually played guitar since I was 14. I'm 49 now. And what had happened was I was married young. I met my husband at 17 and we got married at 18. Had my son at 19, so it was all very quick. Mm-hmm. And I had quite a long break. Then I got back into playing when my son and my daughter got up a wee bit. And I had a long break again for about 10 years and I never hardly lifted the guitar. But my son and my daughter were always playing, and it was actually my son that got me back into playing just a few years ago, 2 years ago, because he was going to start a little band himself. He's 30 now, and him and his friend convinced me, to get back into my music and start gigging with them. But it was more traditional style music, so we ended up. It's just me and my son that play now. So we ended up doing a few gigs and that. We'd normally gig, but it's more like traditional style, like Scottish, Irish, with a bit of country as well, bit of bluegrass as well in it. But so yeah, it was down to my son getting me back into music. The songwriting, I had never tried to write a song in my life before. So I wrote a song and I thought, I quite enjoy this. So ended up, we got a few songs together. Me and my son actually write as well together. We got a few songs together, and it just started from there basically. And it's just a full-time hobby now. Just writing, and I'm actually writing for the second album just now as well.
All right, and I mean, as a singer-songwriter myself, it's not always an easy task to hear something in your head and get it translated over to the instruments. But
no, well, mine's is always comes into my head when I'm actually cleaning the house or hoovering, when no one can hear me. So I'm always vacuuming up, and I get a melody into my head, and I think, right, okay, I've got something there. And if I get a lyric into my head, I just have to go and write it down or record it on the phone. So it's quite funny how mine comes about. I think everybody's got their own way of the songs coming to them. Mm-hmm. I couldn't sit down and just say, right, I'm going to write a song today. It never happens like that.
Well, and that's the way it is with me. Somebody asked me a long time ago, I'd written like 3 songs in a week, and of course I sent those to you, and they'd ask me, well, how in the world you sit down and write 3 songs and come up with that? But what they don't realize is, as a songwriter, I, much like yourself, I'm the type that if I set aside the time to go and write and say I'm going to write, I won't write anything. Or I won't write anything that I like. But I can be driving down the road, or I can be just, there's been a couple times I've actually been out and heard a band play, and I got this tune stuck in my head, which was just, it wasn't something they were playing necessarily. It was just something that just got stuck in my head. And I had to go home and or like a hook or whatever, and I'd have to go home and I'd build a whole song around it.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, and that's it. It could just be one line of a lyric that you can get the inspiration from. But it's funny how they come across, because I wrote Survive Alone while I was actually babysitting with 3 grandchildren. Mm-hmm. So there was a whole lot of racket going on. And I managed to write a full song while I was there for a couple hours. It's amazing how they just come out.
Right, and that's the thing. A lot of people, I think, are there's this, obviously, in music, in the music industry, there's this machine now, and they have a team of songwriters for one person a lot of times, and they'll pitch the idea to this whole team. Like, say there's 5 different people, they'll pitch this one idea to these 5 different people, and then they'll choose the best of the 5 ideas. And I'm like, man, there's nothing organic about it. And to me, as a songwriter, it's kind of offensive, because I could never, and kudos to anybody who can sit down and write a song just because somebody told them, okay, this is what we want the song to be about, write it. I could probably do that. I couldn't do it instantaneously. It would probably take weeks or months or whatever. But, my hat's off to anybody that can do that. But with me, I'm the kind of guy that I'll write 4 or 5 songs and submit all 5 of them to you, and you choose the one you like the best, but don't tell me an idea of what you want the song to be about. Because, and I feel like, it takes away from the song, because you and I could sit down with the same idea and have an entirely different interpretation of it. Correct?
Yeah, definitely.
And so, I feel like if you take the organic feel out of it, that whole let the individual write the song, if you take that away from it, to me, it kind of robs the song of the feeling, the emotion. It's like you and I both love Tracy Chapman.
Yeah.
She is an amazing artist, and anything that she's written, you can almost feel that, I don't know, that emotional connection she has to the song. And to me, it makes me it makes me like the song more, I guess that's what I'm trying to get over. Right. Now, you sent me 2 songs, and of course, one of them was Southbound. Let's talk a little bit about the second song.
Lost.
Yes, Lost, and I was absolutely just one of those deals where I started listening to it. I said, I'll listen to a couple minutes of it, and probably 20 minutes later, I'm sitting there listening to it for the 4th, 5th, 6th time, But there's such an emotional connection to it, man. It's just a beautiful, beautiful song, very well written, very well conceived. And I was actually sitting there singing it after the 4th, 5th time. I was singing it along with you. So,
all right.
Yeah,
that was actually written quite a wee while ago. It was written probably about 18 months ago. Mm-hmm. It was in the first batch of songs that I'd actually written. And I never done it. Lay dormant for a wee while. And I thought, right, I'm going to pull this back out. And it's actually about, everybody's been lost, we all know that, but everybody's been through a hard time. But for me, personally, the song is about me finding myself. Mm-hmm. Especially, coming into the songwriting, and, this 2 years has just been, there's been quite a lot happening in this 2 years for myself. And it's about finding yourself, really, and spiritually as well, So that, personally, for me, that's what the song's about, just finding out who you are. But it is written, I normally like people to, take the song and kind of relate to it with their own feelings, because I don't normally tell a lot of people what the songs are about, because I prefer the listener to make their own mind up. Like Survive Alone, when I put that on social media, I had one listener come back and say, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe, how much that song relates to myself, and that was such a big compliment. So I was quite stoked with that.
Well, and that's what ultimately what you want as a songwriter, or even just a vocalist singing somebody else's song.